Write a program and create the following functions. Shapes that takes the shape name and number as a parameter. So 2 parameters. And calls the proper functions to calculate the area. So it is going to be a function calling inside a function definition. Okay, so it's like functions inside another function. So the parent function is going to be the shape, which is going to take 2 values. One is the name of the shape. The another one is the value to calculate the area of the particular shape. The second one, the second function is area circle. So if the name, entered name is going to be the circle, then this function, area circle function, needs to be called. And inside this function definition, you have to put the formula to calculate the area. For that, you need an input, which is the radius of the circle, which is going to be the value that is entered by the shape. Remember, in the shape function, we have 2 parameters. One parameter is the name of the shape, and the another parameter, something. For example, let's say 5. That 5 will be area circle, which will be radius. In case if the name entered is going to be the shape name is going to be the square, then we are going to define the third function, which is area square, where you have to define the formula to calculate the area of the square. So the same 5, the value entered inside the shape will become the side length of the square, which will become the side value, that is A. Okay, so you know the formula for calculating the area of square, which is nothing but A squared, right? So by using that, we will calculate the area of the square. So that's the problem. Think about it. So first you have to import whatever the packages or library statement is going to be the import statement. So either here we are going to use the value of the pi, which we can use from math library. Even you can say 3.14 directly, it's up to you, but let's have some practice of importing packages. So import math. Next, input, right? What inputs that we need? Name is going to be the first input, which is the name of the shape. So let's prompt some input from the user saying enter the shape. And then value is going to be the value of whatever numerical input that is given, right? So we have to first convert that string to integer. So int passing input to prompt, enter the value to calculate the area. Good. So input part is done. So what is the next thing? We have to define 3 functions. Def is the keyword, and they have given what is the name of the function that you have to use. Shapes, function name. You have to pass 2 parameters. You know what is parameter, right? Parameter is the value that you have to pass to calculate something. So name and value. These are the 2 parameters, colon. And we have to decide only 2 areas, the 2 shapes that we are considering, right? So if that is circle and square. So if the name, exactly it should be circle. Okay, if the name, enter name is circle, then what you have to do? You have to call the function calling. You're going to define a function to calculate the area of the circle. So you're going to call that function. So camel case, as I mentioned, area uppercase circle to differentiate 2 words. It's up to you. You don't need to use the exact name. And the value you have to pass to call this function. So function calling with the parameter value. And then indentation ends. Yes, we have only 2 values. So one if else should be fine. If if the value is circle, then it is you have to call this, or else you have to call square. Same value will be applicable to both circle calculation and square calculation. Okay. Because only one parameter is required for both. So now we are going to define a function called area circle. And here you can say that as value itself should still work, but just to differentiate, let's say radius. Even if you say value, still it would work. It's not a problem. So here we are going to print the answer. The circle area is string concatenation. So here we are going, not only are using pi, we are going to use the round function. Okay, round function is the built-in function from Python. You don't need to use math for that. So we are using round to round it to 2 decimal places, or else with the 3.14, lot of values, 4 decimal, it may have lot of decimals. So we are going to limit the decimal places to 2. So how to import pi value? To import a value or function from the package, you have to use the package name. Here, math is the package name. Math dot operator. And here we are going to use the attribute, not a method. So the attribute is pi. So which is pi value into the radius. Okay, and then here we are specifying that it should have 2 decimal location. Okay, so the third function to calculate the area of square. Here the value is going to be edge, print the square area is formula is edge square limited to 2 decimal location. Such function definitions. Function calling for these 2 functions are here, but it will not be called unless you call this. So we have to call that main function. We're calling that main functions with the parameter name, value. So how it will work? Let's do a workflow. First, in math package will be imported. Then it will get the values and say the value in the variable name and value. And then it will read this, and then it will read everything. Okay, but nothing will happen. Okay, because there is no function calling. When you call this function, then what will happen? It will go to this place, this function definition, and check the entered value, because the value will be entered here, right? If it's a circle, then it will call this, where inside that you have this formula and printing option. If you have entered square, then else part will be called, and then this function will be called. Okay, so let's run it. Enter the same. I'm going to enter square. So the second else part will get selected, and inside the else part, it calls area square. Enter the area square. Inside the area square, you have value. So it just looks for value. Now, value is not there. So now it calls this input and asks you to enter the value. They're entering 10. Then it calculates this. So you can note this. Initially, once you enter the shape, then automatically it calls this and then only it asks for the value. Even though you have given the value, it doesn't ask the value immediately. What is that? Yeah, it's just get the shape, and then this function calling is that, and then only it asks for the value, even though you have given the input function before the function definition. See here, if you have added a parenthesis for this R square, that might cause an issue. Okay, so just take that parenthesis. It doesn't matter whether the values are here or before function definition, after function definition, it doesn't matter. Okay. So you have to remove that R square value. I added that parenthesis, which does not recognize because the ending parenthesis closed after 2. So that's like syntax error. It's a syntax error. So let's read the second problem. If you have removed that parenthesis, it should work now. The second problem, fifth problem, write a program and create a function called call. The function generates a random integer number between 10 and 100. Determines it is divisible by 6 or not. Maybe B missed. So divisible by 6 or not. Third, the output is shown below. You can look at the output in the lab problem manual. So what you have to get, you don't need to get anything here actually. Random function, right? Random integer function. For that, you need random package. Remember how you imported random package? We have done it before in problem number 2. So you have to import random package. You're going to import a method to generate random number of integer. There is a method called randint. You can feel free to refer, Google it to see how you can use it. Okay. First, you have to import the package random. Next, you have to define a function, and the function name is going to be called. And then inside the function, you're going to call the random number generator to generate a number, to pick a number between 10 to 100. So refer the previous problems and see how you can use the random function to pick a number, randomly pick a number between 10 and 100. And then you have to use whether it is see whether it is divisible by 6 or not. We have done it before to find the odd number or even number, right? So whether it is divisible by 6, to see that, how can you do that? Okay, that should be in function definition, and then function calling to call that call function. So these are the parts of the program. Okay, so let's import the package for random number generation. And package name is random. And then you have to define a function. They have given what should be the function name. So let's use the same name, call. And you don't need any parameter here because you're not getting any input from the user. The input is going to be generated randomly. So import package name, which is random dot, method name, which is randint. Okay. And then 2 values, 10 and 100. Between 10 and 100, randomly it will pick some value. Okay. So in the same indentation level, you have to say if n value is modulus of 6. Remember, we have done odd number. For that, we did modulus of 2. Here it is modulus of 6 equal to 0. If it can be divided by 0 without any reminder, that means it is divisible, right? So that's what we are going to say. Print n value string concatenation is divisible by 6. Okay, simple. Let's give some space so that the output will be good. Okay, next, else with the indentation. we're going to say n is not divisible by 6. Okay, this is just function definition. We have to do the function calling. So let's call the call. So if you run this, I missed this colon here. Okay, every time you run it, every time it will just pick a random number, because every time the function will be called, right? So each time the random number generator will generate a new number, which should be between 10 to 100. Okay, so it should be like this, random number generation. So I hope all of you got it done. Let's move on to the next problem. It is kind of little bit challenging, but good problem. It is a good learning for you. Write a program that calls the following function to produce the output shown below. Okay, so first they have given the function names. You're going to define 3 functions. The first function to calculate the average. The second function to get the letter grade. And the third function to print the result. So what it should be done, you have to prompt the user to enter their numerical grade. Okay, so that should be here in the, you have to define a function for that to get the inputs. Okay, not a function. Also note down that the program before calling the function should verify the grade and make sure all the grades are numeric. So we are going to use exception handling. So inside the try, you're going to get 5 inputs, numeric grade from the user. Once you got it, you're going to define 3 functions. One function is to calculate the average. The second function is to calculate the letter grade. So you have to follow this letter grading scenario. So think about that, what you can do to do this. If it is greater than that in A, B, C, D, E, so you have to use branching, if else, to do this, okay? So inside this get letter, you have to do the branching. And inside the print result, you have to do the result that is received from the get letter function that needs to be passed to the print result, and it will print out the result. Okay. So as we have discussed before, the function definition should be before function calling. Since we should not disturb that try except else construct, let's start defining all the functions before. So we had to have this average, calculate average function. Did they mention the name? What is the name that they have mentioned? Okay, so it's not uppercase A, it's lowercase a. Okay, function definition with the parameters. What are the parameters? We have to get five grades: G1, G2, G3, G4, G5. Parameters are done. Function calling. Okay, and then here expression formula. What is the formula to calculate the average? So G1 plus G2 plus G3 plus G4 plus G5 divided by 5. And then we have to return, right? We have to return this. Where we have to return? To the next function. So the next function is get letter. Here we have to return this. Whatever is returned by calc average, the value will be received here. Will be received here, okay? As a parameter. Then here, the average value is greater than or equal to 90 if, right? It can be, but you don't need, it doesn't need to be. It's just a reference, okay? You don't need to do that calculation. It's not needed, okay? Yellow. Maybe I will update that if it is confusing. I will update that. It doesn't need to be 0.9, any value, any average value. If it is greater than or equal to 80, then return B. It is a string. You're returning the string. L if the average value is greater than or equal to 70, then C. L if the average value is greater than or equal to 60, then you are going to return D. Else, you're going to return F. Define function, print results. What are the results? You have to print both AVG and letter. Print average AVG, print letter grade, letter. So we have defined all the functions. Now, main part, we have to get the input. We're going to do the try except because we don't want to handle the non-numerical input. So for that, we know how to handle that because we have done a lot of problems with that. Enter the first grade. Feel free to copy and paste. G2. Enter the second value. G3. Enter the third value. Put the grade value. Enter the fifth value, fifth grade value. Except error. All grades. If any of the one grade is numeric, non-numeric, then it will not process. It should say all grades should be numeric. So inside the else part, we're going to call all the functions. The first one, average. So to avoid confusion, I'm going to do this. I'm just creating a variable called AVE instead of, because you're returning here this average, right? I just want you to see where it is getting processed. Okay. So to avoid confusion, what is the variable here? That value will be processed. Just to show you that, I'm just giving different variable name. Normally the parameters and the argument value, it can be same, but just to avoid confusion. In function definition, I'm using AVG. In function, main function, I'm using AVE. because we are saving we are doing the function calling and saving the variable in the variable called AVE. So we're calling this function. And here you have to pass all the values. And then letter grade is a variable name. Here we have used letter as the variable name. So I will use letter. Get letter for AVE. And then print results is the function calling where you're passing this AVE and then letter. So this practice gives you a good understanding on naming, parameter naming, all those things. First grade value 98, 97, 96, 95, 94. Okay, it works perfectly. So let me explain the workflow here once again. You're defining all the function. First function to calculate the parameters. Sorry, average. Second one for the letter grade. And third one just to print the result. So using try, we are getting the inputs. And if it is non-numeric, we are passing the error. Inside the else, we are doing the function calling. So until this, the interpreter will be reading. It will not do anything. Okay, just will read. But the action function, the switch of that function, the actual switch, when you switch on the light, then only it will be activated. Actual switch will be here. Function calling. This function will be called. Then it will go here and see G1, G2, G3, G4. It will see where is G1, G2, G3. So it will see, okay, I have read it before. Like that, it will just see and get the values and pass it here. And it will calculate average. Okay. And then the average value will be saved here. Simply saved here. Nothing will happen. It will save it. And then read the second function calling, where get letter will be called. Now it will see where is the AVE. It will just go and fetch the value of AVE from here, from this variable. And then we'll do all these things, conditions and check. And it will return either A, B, C, D, E, F. Where it will be written? Where this A, B, C, D, E will be saved. It is written in here, right? Where it will get saved. Here, in this variable, it will save, okay? Okay, then it will be there in that variable. And here, print results, where you're passing AVE letter. So it will simply go and fetch the values in AVE variable and letter variable, and will go and print the result. Workflow is very simple if you understood the concept.